We have Kim Kinney here. She is a best-selling Christian author and dynamic speaker. She has written the Glory series, which is a phenomenal series. I had the opportunity to read a few pages of it prior to coming on here, and the intro in itself, I was like, okay, this is very good. Like, this is blowing my mind. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you. My first question for you really is, I read online that you really grew up with this culture of faith in your home as a child. And I just want to know, just so people can, get to know you, what exactly was that culture of faith like growing up for you?
Well, I have an interesting story. My parents raised me in the church. I was always in the church, but really what made my faith become real was a pastor in my middle school years. Starting at age 11, he met with a group of us to go through confirmation classes. Every Saturday morning from 9 to 12 for 2 years, we met with this pastor. And he was passionate and he was patient and he just clearly loved Jesus, but he poured into us. I was confirmed at 13. 3 months later, he died. Brain tumor. He was 42 years old, three
Wow.
months. And so I have to wonder, did he know he was sick when he was teaching us? Maybe he didn't even have a diagnosis, but he had symptoms. I had to think he had some symptoms. So what did he know? And here he was sitting across from a room of preteens pouring into us, prioritizing us, probably wanting to see this confirmation class come through. He believed what he was teaching. So I'm sitting here today because of this man. And when someone asked me about my faith, I just remember that this man felt I was worth pouring into. I was worth his Saturday mornings. And I've just never gotten over that. His few last Saturday mornings. So that's really what made the difference that got me strong in my faith. Is this man. The
Wow.
power of one person. It just
Yeah.
takes one person to pour into you. It could
hmm
be any of us.
I think that takes humility as well, that you are willing to allow someone to come into your space and really pour into you truth and wisdom.
I soaked it up. It was a lot of work, but he made it fun and relatable. That's the whole thing. It needs to
hmm
be real. It just
mm
can't be this ethereal presence out here. We need
Yeah.
to be able to apply it to our lives, and he did that for me at a young age.
Mm. I love that. Can you explain just how those early years impacted and will impact your faith today?
Um, well, it was a class of about 12 of us,
Okay.
and he started with the tenets of the faith, and we had to memorize all of this, all of um, the creeds, the Old Testament. We had to remember we had to memorize the Ten Commandments and what they meant and all of this. And then he showed us how to apply it to our lives. And he was so passionate about it. He was living for Jesus, and I saw that, and that was so different. It was just, he made it very real. And service was a big part of his life. So starting at that age, I started teaching vacation Bible school. I mean, we were expected to pour into others as he poured into us. We aren't blessed to hoard them to ourselves. We're blessed to pass it on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was important. I just did a reel about the two seas. Did you see that one about the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee?
I haven't seen it yet.
The Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee are 20 miles apart, but they're so different because the Dead Sea gets water from the Jordan River and it holds on to it. There's no outlet. So
Mm.
the water evaporates and the water becomes 20 times as toxic with the salt content as the oceans. Anything that touches it dies. If you would get it in your eyes, you likely would go blind. If you were to swallow it, it affects your larynx, so you would often suffocate to death. 20 miles away is the Sea of Galilee that has an outlet. And so the water passes through and it is thriving with life. Dead
Mm.
Sea, nothing lives in it, no plant, no animal. If the fish swims in it, it dies instantly. But the Sea of Galilee is full of life only because it has an outlet. The
Mm.
same with us, too. We are stagnant in our faith so many times because we take in the good sermons, the blessings, but we don't pour out. We hoard it to
Yeah.
ourselves and we become stagnant. But when we take in and give out, there's a vibrancy, a life to us that blesses other people around. And it's just It comes full circle.
Now, at the age of 15, I read that you actually started teaching. So I'm thinking, okay, being aware of your gifting at that age or aware of what God gave you at that age, how did that impact how you moved during that time? Because I just think about my generation, millennials and Gen Z. There is a hyper awareness of gifting and what you're able to do,
Okay.
but sometimes that awareness of gifting, you can get lost in that awareness, to the point where you are not really seeking God or seeking a relationship with Him, but more so you just are attempting to function in gifting. So, do you find that it was a different experience for you, knowing that you had this gifting at an early age?
I didn't know I had the gifting. I'll tell you what happened to me.
Mm,
When that pastor died, they got a different pastor a year later, and the church started to go south. It really wasn't preaching the word anymore. So my parents said, we're leaving. We went to a different church. My parents loved it. I was a freshman in high school, and it was a very upper class church. And I was not accepted by the other girls in the high school. They all went to this elite high school in the area. We came a little bit of a distance to go there, so I was in a different high school. It was like in more of a middle class high school. So they really shunned me, and I got my feelings hurt. And I told my parents, I don't want to go to Sunday school anymore because I was an outcast. And my parents said, well, you're going, so you're going to have to figure it out. They
mm,
didn't coddle me. Now we coddle our children so much. And I thought, gosh, I got to figure something out. So I thought, okay, well, I'll teach. And they had
wow,
no teacher for the second grade boys. There were 20 of them. The
wow,
first time I showed up to class, they locked me out of the classroom. They were rambunctious.
mm,
I had a co-teacher my age. We were both 15. But maybe it was a blessing because I was young like they were. And we had the books of the Bible memorized. I put them to songs, and we just had fun. But my parents basically said, you're not getting out of it. You're going to have to figure it out. And it was the expectation, and I
mm,
figured it out. So I left the high school and I decided to teach instead. And I did that until I graduated from high school. So it wasn't like I
wow,
really knew I had the gifting. I just had to
yeah,
step up to do it.
yeah,
And it was children will rise to whatever your expectations are of them.
mm-hmm,
Set them high. And that's what my parents did with me. They had no excuses. And so I figured it out and I became good at what I did because there was no other option.
mm. And when did you know it was time for you to write? Because you've written
Oh,
this Glory series,
yeah.
um, a wonderful collection of books that has been uh, publicized, and many people have praised it. As far as like earthly awards, you've
Yeah.
received so many awards. But when did you know that it was time to actually put pen to paper what you were experiencing inside as a believer with Glory?
Well, this is an interesting story because I was a nurse practitioner for years. I'm heavy in
Mm,
math science. So
okay.
writing a book was not on the radar at all. COVID hit, and the whole world got quiet. And when the
Yeah.
world got quiet, I really could hear God's voice. Now, it wasn't audible. I don't know how else to explain it except to say it was so loud in my soul, I couldn't deny it, that I was to write not only a book, but a series on God's glory. Now, I've taught Bible for decades. I've never taught on glory. I've never done a Bible study on glory. I thought, what in the world? He dropped three titles in my head. I knew they were book titles. I wrote them down in order. And when I started to type the books, I couldn't stop. I couldn't believe. I just can't explain it, but I couldn't stop. But what terrified me more than anything is when I went back a couple months later to edit, I could not remember writing many of those chapters. I had no memory. I was convinced I had early onset dementia. I even called a local facility because I thought my family's not going to be burdened with me. I'm not kidding. I was terrified. I buried my mother with it, my grandmother, my uncle, and my aunt. I knew it was my turn. And when it kept happening, I thought something is weird because I was handling other things well. And I realized this was the Holy Spirit power working through me. So he was downloading, it's a download to my brain. It came through me so fast, I was typing without knowing what I was typing. And when I realized what was happening, and it still happens when I speak, when I write, when I go on social media, I realized I'm on holy ground. And that is, I mean, it brings me to tears to think about it. But basically, God called me. I said yes, and He did the rest. Those awards are for His glory. I didn't do it. I can't explain it other than that. I'm math science. I'm not a writer. Somehow I can write now, but I know He can take that away any day. Just like He gave it to me for this season, He can take it away. And so I don't take it for granted.
Mm. Whew, jeez.
Isn't
So
that strange?
I no, it's powerful, honestly.
It is.
So how? So I just want to kind of understand the process as well with your writing. How long did it take you to write
Well,
the first book?
when I sat down in 4 months, I had 120 chapters written. Every book is 50 chapters. So in 4 months, I had that's insane. That
Yeah,
is well over 100,000 words. That doesn't happen. It
yeah.
doesn't happen, but only God. So then I had to go through all of the editing, and the launch processes takes time. I have been hit by spiritual warfare like you can't imagine. The attacks have been incredible. I've had major surgery. I've gotten chronic diseases. I have buried 3 dogs, 4 family members. I mean, it's one catastrophe hit me after another, but I persevered to get through it, many times in tears. But the process of writing was easy. Editing was not hard either. I have a good editor,
Mm-hmm.
but it was all the junk that came with it. I think the enemy knew that this was going to be powerful for the
Yeah.
kingdom, and he was going to thwart it at every turn. And
Wow.
I almost quit so many times. There were so many times I was like, I can't take this anymore. I can't take
Mm.
another death. I can't take any more heartache. I just can't. And my major surgery was a major shoulder surgery with a 12-month recovery. So I had my dominant arm in a sling. It was the most extensive surgery you can have. So it was 7 months of daily physical therapy. I mean, it was a lot. So I couldn't do
Mm-hmm.
much then. So I had a
Right.
lot of timeouts, but the writing was easy because it was God writing it through me. I just
Yeah.
type it up.
Yeah. And how does one endure with that amount of pressure and warfare that's coming at you? How does one endure? And not just specifically for you, but for anyone who believes that God has given them something to release or pour out, but they may be fearful of the repercussions of that.
That is a really good question. It is very hard to endure suffering. I have suffering as a theme that goes through all 3 of my books. And I look at some of the greats and how they suffered. And most of the people with a big flat platform have gone through a tremendous amount of suffering. And I recount their stories in my books. A heart of gratitude is a very big component of turning our ashes into beauty, so to speak. And what I tell people who are so drenched in the suffering to get a notebook every night before bed, write down 3 things you're grateful for. It can be, and I did this, it can be so minor as I had a really good orange today, or I saw a beautiful sunset, anything. And your countenance changes. If you know the story of Johnny Erickson Tata, the 17-year-old who broke her neck when she was diving, and now she is a national, worldwide speaker, writer, everything. She became quadriplegic at age of 17. She went from severe depression to suicidal thoughts until she realized that God told her to be thankful for everything, in everything. And so she did that, and she started thanking him for the most minute details, and it changed her whole countenance. It just changed around everything. So, and I also find it's very therapeutic to get outside into nature, into God's creation. Somehow God speaks to us in his creation that he can't boxed up in a house. But to just be in prayer to him, because he doesn't want us to come to him all cleaned up with polished prayers. He wants us to come to him how we are. He doesn't want the highlight reel. He just wants us. And he can do so much more with 15 minutes of our full presence than he can do with a lifetime of distraction. So come to him as you are, because distracted devotion means nothing to him, but if you are real with him, he meets you where you are and he walks that journey with you. But be in prayer, read your Bible every day, and be aware of his presence. And for me, getting in nature is huge, and gratitude. If you do that three things every night before bed,
Mhm.
and I tell all my people who come to me on social media, come to me in a month and tell me where you stand, and you're better. It makes
Yeah.
a difference. I can't explain it, but God can.
Wow. And so, okay, so you write the Glory series. How do you shift then to social media and content creation and releasing what's inside of you on such a platform?
Well, when we live a life of faith, that is like the foundation of a home. It's the undergirding of everything that we do. Um, it's not like putting it into a room of the house. Every house is on that foundation. So it's really the same. It's either creating content on paper or creating content on social media. Now, my generation, we're not big on, I had to really learn the whole social media thing. But when I have the gift of mercy, which means I see hurting people and I can't turn away. And when I look at social media, I see this. I have the gift of mercy, so I can see into people. I can see the suffering. I can see the hurt, the depression, the anxiety. The enemy really is working through these generations with anxiety. He wants to get you paralyzed so you're ineffective for anything else. And I just thought someone needs to get on this space with compassion to offer truth that can land, truth that can get us through the hard. So that's what I try to do. I try to bring a heart of compassion and caring into the space, offer something of value, and to be there to help walk through it because we're stronger together.
That's powerful. That
So
is powerful.
it's not about being perfect, it's about being surrendered.
Hmm.
And so many times we are wasting our time chasing the next happiness, the next thing, and
Hmm.
that doesn't land with us. It stays for a little bit, but it's gone. What we need is joy, which is a spiritual fruit, which is grown on the inside.
Hmm.
Happiness is from the outside. That's from the world. We try to fill up on the world, but the world will drain us every single time. The world doesn't fill us, but God fills us. And when he does, that joy comes out. And once you've experienced it, you're never going to go back. But it's about not
Absolutely.
striving so much, but surrendering more.
Kim, I could just listen to you.
I don't know.
Literally, you can just keep talking and I won't ask another question. Um, how did writing the Glory series actually shift your intimacy in the process of writing it? Did it shift your intimacy with the Lord? Did you find that there was just great revelation taking place or a great transformation taking place as you were writing, or
There
what are your
was,
thoughts?
because you're not going to see my opinion in the books. It's all
Mm,
about God. It's so heavy in scripture, so heavy in Bible stories told in a way you've never heard them before. And looking at all the greats, it's full of quotes from famous people that tie into this and their stories and their biographies or their
mhm.
experiences. And the more I studied these people and studied the stories and studied scripture, the more I realized, wow, this is exactly what we need to invest in. My bibliography goes on for pages of people that I quote. I don't know if you've looked back there, but it's extensive. And so you shouldn't want my opinion. It's not
Mm,
full of my opinion. It's all grounded in truth. This is stuff you can stand on, because if it was my opinion, it wouldn't be worth anything. But it's all based on God and how other people have survived horrible things because of their faith. And I looked at, how did you do this? Some of these people, the lives they've led. I mean, one man lost 5 children, and I talk about, he's Horatio Spafford. We all know his story. He wrote "It Is Well with My Soul," that hymn. If you can read his story, we know the superficial story, but I get into the deep part of it. It's crazy what he lost. And how did he get through it? How did he do it? How did Elizabeth Elliot, whose husband was speared by the Aka Indians, Jim Elliott, that was it the Touch of the Spear? It was the movie. And it's like, how did she survive as a 29-year-old widow? And then she went back into the tribe that killed her husband and continued to be a missionary with them, with their 10-month-old daughter. How did she do that? But God will equip you to do what He's calling you to do. He didn't call me to do that. He called me to do this. This is my mission field. You have a whole different mission field that He's calling you to. But when we study how other people did it, we are wise to pay attention because we can learn from them and start where they ended and move forward even further in the faith. So
Wow.
I don't know.
No, you are
I don't-
speaking. People in the comments are saying the same. Um, as far as Gen Z and millennials, what is your encouragement to the next generation?
I honestly, that's my heartbeat. That
Mm,
is my heartbeat. I started an international ministry for that age, for the Gen Z at that time. 20 years ago, and it was in 8 different countries, and I spoke to them until I had to close it and take care of my mother with Alzheimer's disease. And it's still my heartbeat. And what saddens me is how social media is taking over. And the more we are immersed with social media, the more depressed we will become. In fact, Instagram did a study of their own platform and said the more time we spend on social media, the more depressed we'll become. Because social media is like pouring gasoline on a fire and it ignites. We suddenly feel all that pressure to perform and the comparison shift. We suddenly don't know who we are anymore, our identity. But the only way I can say is if faith is like its own fire, God is a consuming fire, the Bible says. And the closer we get to the source, the more we can fan those flames of our faith and feel that warmth because it's all about living for the faith, something that endures, something that is solid, that we can count on being there. And social media is simply a distraction, I think, used by the enemy. Now, listen, I use social media. I'm on there every day, but just be discerning as to what portals are pouring into your soul because they impact who you are. They impact your identity. And I think we're seeing a real question of identity among our young people. And we feel like we're less than, we don't measure up. We need to try harder and harder and harder to fit in. And God says, no, stop your striving. You are exactly who I created you to be. You don't have to try any harder. You are who I want. But He wants you, not your distractions. And He says you're enough. And if He says you're enough, you are. So we need to believe it and start living like we believe it.
y'all put some hand claps in the comment section
Oh, I
because
can't see.
Kim is teaching us this afternoon. Do you believe that uh, the next generation is in need of more mothers and fathers in the faith?
Absolutely. And I think mentoring is a big part of this.
Hmm.
In the Timothys, they talk about that we need the older generation pouring into the younger generation.
Yeah.
It saddens me when we see people my age only hanging out with people my age.
Mm,
We need to be pouring into the young people. I have a lot of young friends in their 30s and 40s, and quite a few in their 20s. And I love to pour into them
hmm.
because we need that. I had people that I looked to
Yeah.
and still do. I still have a few of them alive, but we need to pass on our wisdom. And
Yes.
honestly, it invigorates me. It
Mm,
invigorates me to be with the young people and see where they are and tell them this is a dead end. Don't waste your time or whatever it is. But
yeah. Do you?
mentoring should be part of our lives.
Mm, absolutely. Do you feel that there's a specific reason why there hasn't been an intersection between the younger generation and the older generation?
I really don't know why we segregate ourselves so much. I
Mm,
wish I knew, but I don't. I
hmm.
don't know. I don't know. I remember a few years ago, I knew a couple women whose kids were starting kindergarten. And I said, hey, I'm going to have a coffee after the first day of kindergarten. These mothers were
Hmm.
terrified. And I had another mother with a child a year older. And so I said, invite all your friends. So I had a house full of people. I served them breakfast and we talked. I had name tags of where they're, what what teacher their child had, and they were terrified. And I
Mm,
said, okay, let's get it all on the table and let's just talk. Let's just help each other through. We have to help each other through. We are built to be in relationship. Even the Trinity is in relationship. We are not meant to be isolated. And
yeah.
so I'm still in touch with these young moms who now their kids are in middle school, but
Hmm.
they needed help to get through that. I wish I'd had that when I was that age. I didn't.
Hmm.
But I don't know why we're afraid of the younger or the older generation. We're in it together, and they offer me things too. It's not one-sided. We
Hmm.
bless one another.
Hmm.
It's just richer. When we have friends of different ages, it's richer that we can go to and say, listen, I need help. I've never experienced this before. How do I handle somebody who's betrayed me?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what? It's happened to me.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
honestly, they're hurting. It's not you. It's to be able to say that.
Hmm. I feel like there is such a beautiful just connection that can take place when we are interconnected, when we are joining with people who know more, who are wiser, who have lived
Oh,
longer,
yeah.
and vice versa. You know, we can provide energy and we can, jolt life and new perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and it can be an amazing connection, So I love that. I even think about how Jesus was with the disciples, and it was like constant community. And he had moments where he went away and he retreated, but he was always around people, his disciples and his followers.
Of all ages. He loved the
Yeah.
children. And my dad had a major heart attack when I was 15, suffered brain damage from it, and he died 10 years later. I was 23 when he died. And my mother got dementia when I was in my 30s. So I didn't have a lot of that. Um, and I needed it, and other people need it too. And I think they need it more now. Life is a lot harder now than it was when I was this age. It really is. The pressure on these generations is horrific. We shouldn't do this to ourselves. And why do we put on? I know so many people are putting on a perfect performance on social media, and afterward, they're collapsing, they're falling apart. Because I know them, and I go to them, I'm like, you are a crying mess here, but you just painted a perfect picture on social media. Why? Do we know we're pushing people away when we do that? They're not admiring us. We're just creating distance from us and other people. People need to know I'm full of flaws. I make mistakes my family laughs at me. They're like, you put on this image, but I'm just goofy. I'm silly. If it's snowing, you'll see me literally dancing in the front yard and dance. I mean, why do we put on a perfect image? We don't need
Yeah.
to do that because none of us are perfect.
Yeah.
We just need to show up and be real, care.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And many of us have become very self-absorbed
Mm,
and we don't see the needs out there, but they are. Everybody is suffering somehow.
mm,
I am facing some difficult things right now. I know you are. Everybody
hmm.
is. None of us are
Yes.
immune. We need to be kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
true. It's
It
just a
is.
broken world.
It is true. Nicole wrote, "Perfectionism is such a facade and a trap." Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
used to be a perfectionist, and
Mm,
now I strive for excellence.
mm.
Because as a perfectionist,
And what is the
I never
difference, Kim?
perfectionism is something only Jesus can achieve, perfection.
Hmm.
And when you are a perfectionist, you never feel like you've arrived. You never feel like you are good enough.
Mm,
You're always feeling less than because you've never
hmm.
achieved perfection. It's unattainable. And so it's like these video games that you never win. You have to always go to the next level. You're living
Right.
a life of constant frustration. I did that my whole younger years.
Mm,
Um, I remember graduating from high school, 4.0 was an A, and I graduated with a 3.99, and I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed for hours. That is ridiculous. That is
wow.
ridiculous. No, I'm
Yeah.
serious. It really is. What was
Hmm.
wrong with me? So
Hmm.
now I strive for excellence, and I realize, you know what? It's the best I can do. And I'm sorry if somebody doesn't like it. I have to say, you know what? I did the best I could do. If it didn't meet your expectations, I just have to ask for your forgiveness.
Mm,
What do what can they do with that? You do your best at work, whatever it is.
hmm. Absolutely.
You're not going to be a perfect mother. I
Absolutely.
failed so many times. My kids will tell you. But you offer
Wow.
grace. God is
Hmm.
the God of grace. And you know what? We're little ambassadors for his kingdom. We're little Christs, as C.S. Lewis said. Offer grace.
Mm,
Offer grace. We need to help one another.
wow. My last question for you, Kim, is how can we last in our Christian faith, in our walk with all of the pressures of life, all the things that we are experiencing and seeing and witnessing? How can we last?
Persevering is hard. That's a very good question. And my best advice is take it one day at a time. Look at 24 hours. When I look at the big picture, it's like, I can't do it. I can't.
Hmm.
If I knew what this glory series would entail of me, I never would have started. I'll be honest. I never would have done it. Whatever it is that we're facing, taking care of my mom with Alzheimer's, if I had known, never could have done it. God, we pray for, give us this day our daily bread. God gives us daily grace to endure whatever it is that the day is going to ask from us.
Mm,
He gives us what we need, exactly what we need, the bread, the nourishment, the spiritual, whatever it is that it takes to get through it. When the Israelites were wandering in the desert, he gave them manna. It rained down from heaven. That was bread from heaven, daily bread. And
yeah,
it got them through to the next day. If they took more than they were asked to take, it rotted. So God gives us our daily bread. He gives us our daily manna to persevere and get through,
awesome.
stringing one day on top of another. And so ask him for the daily bread to get through today, and he will do it. He will be faithful.
Mm,
Now, you do need to look ahead and plan and follow your dreams. But as far as persevering on a daily basis, what does today require from me?
mm,
Then walk that out, whatever it is,
yeah.
and you'll get through it. That's when I get overwhelmed, when we feel overwhelmed, we're looking at too many days in advance. That's all it is. You know, if we have a family member who's dying, okay, and I would just say, okay, but it's not today. It's not today. So today they're here, and I can do this and this, but that's not today. And when it was the day, it's like, okay, today is the day. God give me the strength, and I just have to get through today, and then through today, and then through the next day. That's how we do it, one day at a time. That's all He expects of us.
That is so excellent because you can get caught up in the future and being so future focused, and that can cause a lot of anxiety.
Oh, it fills us with
Um,
fear.
absolutely.
Fear is paralyzing, and that's where the enemy wants you.
Mm,
He will paralyze you with fear and anxiety. And
hmm.
if you accept it, you're letting him take away your spiritual fruit. See, the enemy hates God and wants to attack God, but can't. So he attacks people who look like God, people who have the fruits of the Spirit. Galatians 5:22-23. Read that list of 9 fruits. And when he sees kindness and goodness or faithfulness, peace, patience, love, self-control, he will attack you because you look like Jesus. So he cannot take that fruit from you, but he will try to get you to give over your joy, to give over your peace and your patience. Don't give it to him. Don't give him your joy. It's yours from the Holy Spirit. He can't take it because it's a spiritual gift, but you can give it to him. Don't hand it over.
Y'all, where is, I don't know. It's just so good. It's so good.
Well, it's just truth. It's
It
all.
is,
It's just
absolutely.
God's truth, and it makes sense because it's from God, and that's how we're created.
Hmm.
We are souls with a body, not bodies with a soul, and our
Yeah.
souls are yearning toward heaven to be with Jesus. And anything short of that will not satisfy, will not fill us up, but just completely deplete us. And I've been there
Hmm.
too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love this. There is a question in the question box if you have time, Kim.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. Someone said sometimes life feels unreal without anxiety. I have been afraid to say this, but it's the truth about how I feel. Can Kim tell me anything about this?
So life feels, did you say unreal without anxiety? Because
Yep.
anxiety's been present for so long.
Yes.
Well, I would try to look at the source of that anxiety. If some anxieties have a source and we need medication or some help to get through it. I mean, there are conditions where you can be low on a hormone or some kind of a nutrient. But I think anxiety is from the enemy who's trying to keep us paralyzed. And I think that the younger we are, the harder it is because we're now a digital community. We're a digital society. And Gen Z, I think, is the first generation to only know the digital world. And I think that can be very damaging. So I do think that anxiety comes from the enemy. So what are we anxious about? Are we anxious about the future? Are we anxious about what might happen? What if? If so, we are trading current joy for possible future something, 95% of which doesn't happen. Only 5% of what we worry about actually happens. And so just try to inwardly look at what it is that's creating that anxiety. And if it feels unreal or unnatural, that's a problem because you are living with an extra amount of adrenaline surging through your body, and that can really be damaging. But try to seek the peace of the Lord and learn to live with that peace rather than anxiety, knowing that He has it under control. The universe doesn't stop if I take a nap. I mean, if I, it will keep going, and peace should be our default, not anxiety. But if that's the case, she may need some medication to take the edge off, and not forever, but just to get over this hump, so we know what normal feels like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So hopefully Kim was able to answer your question. Thank you so much, Kim, for taking time
Oh,
to join me.
it really
It's
has.
been a joy. Really quickly, for those of you guys who have not purchased any of Kim's books, I'm going to be the one to say go get the book. She has a website. It is www.kimskinney.com.
And you can read the first 2 chapters of every book on my website, but sign up for my newsletters. I have one coming out for Easter, and there's a lot there on the website. But if you heard anything here today that resonates or sticks with you, lean into it. Don't avoid it. But I believe that God is trying to meet you where you are. That's an invitation from Him.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Kim. Once again, thank you so much. We truly appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.